Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webcast, How to Use Soft Skills to Build Your Dream Team, sponsored by Cangrade. This webcast has been pre-approved for HRCI credit. Please be sure to attend the complete webcast in order to receive your credit. You will receive an email from hr.com within 2 business days. It will include the certification credit information. You may also log in to your hr.com account and view the credits that you have received. If you have any questions during the webcast, click on Q&A in your webinar controls and type them in. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to our presenter, Leanna Epstein.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to get to speak with you today about how to use soft skills to build your dream team. Soft skills are a really hot topic in the HR industry right now, and we're going to try to unpack a little bit more what all the hype surrounding soft skills is. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me and the perspective that I'm bringing to this topic. I am the Chief Analytics Officer for Cangrade, but before that, I've had over a decade of experience generating and implementing strategic insights. My background is in data analytics, data science, and social psychology. I have focused over the course of my career on leveraging cutting-edge research in psychology and combining it with data science and machine learning in order to be able to drive organizational growth. So I've worked across sectors over the course of my career, but the problems really stay the same. Organizations want to get great people in the door who will help to drive their mission and drive their bottom line forward. So as the head of analytics for Cangrade, what I've been working on for the past 7 years or so is building the best possible talent management solution to effectively diagnose soft skills that drive superior performance in any given role, in any given organization. So what we do at Cangrade is we have a pre-hire assessment that makes sure that you're hiring only the top superstar performers into any given role at any given time. And that way you have instant and unbiased predictions, and you're able to use this to structure interview guides and do video interviews and see people through the entire talent management lifecycle. In general, as a thought leader, and my goal as an applied social scientist is to really help you to leverage your data to make fantastic, accurate decisions. And this is why I think that this topic is so particularly important. In my time in R&D in developing Cangrade's solution, I did a lot of research in this space to understand what's the closest we can get to some sort of magic silver bullet to predict who's going to be fantastic and who is going to be a mishire. So today I'm going to give you a crash course in what took me years as a scientist to figure out. So you're going to get to learn all my secrets. But to start off, I want to start off by learning some of yours here. So just as a quick check, quick poll here. Does your organization struggle more with finding good applicants or with retaining current employees? Or would you say both equally? As you're taking this poll, the reason I'm starting off with this is that we found this question is really critical to understanding the key pain points of organizations. And from having that as a jumping off point for all of the further discussions that happen about how to move the needle on getting great employees in the door and making sure they stay. All right. So we can see here the answers to our poll that many employers are struggling to both recruit and retain top talent. So the overwhelming answer here is both, but a little bit favoring finding good applicants as opposed to retaining current employees as a solo answer. That's not surprising given the current climate with pandemic hiring. And we'll talk about that a little bit later towards the end of our webinar today to try to understand and unpack a little bit in the climate of the pandemic in particular, what we can do. So those results are really consistent with what we've heard for our clients. Especially in this past year, there's just much fewer applicants for jobs than there are job openings posted. It's more of an applicant's market than an employer's market. So it's really become even more critical to hire people who are going to stay with your organization, because you really have no luxury like maybe you did in the past. Say, okay, we're going to try someone out. It didn't work out. That's okay. There's 20 more people waiting to take that job. You need to make sure you hire right the first time more than ever. So what's going to help you to do that? Soft skills. So this is going to be the punchline for the rest of the webinar. But soft skills are really the key to unlock all of your talent management issues. Why? Why are soft skills linked to better job performance? What we see in the research when you dig into the psychology that's been done on this subject is that soft skills are linked to increased job satisfaction and job fit. That means that they drive the building blocks of what makes us work at work. It means that when you feel like the soft skills that you have fit the role that you have, you like it better. You feel like it fits you better. Soft skills also help to prevent counterproductive behaviors at work. So it helps to remove some of the barriers to what might be preventing us from doing our best work. So really, soft skills contribute both to what makes us like our jobs, job satisfaction and job fit, and what makes us good at our jobs, not engaging in counterproductive behaviors that might be decreasing those key performance indicators that we care about so much. So what will soft skills do better for your company as a result of these links to job satisfaction, job fit, and decreased counterproductive behaviors? First of all, they're going to be able to predict job performance better than the hard skills that you may have been relying on in the past. Next, they're going to help you retain employees for longer, better than hard skills that you may have been relying on in the past. So that little poll we took in the beginning is really the foundation of what makes soft skills in particular, no matter what solution you use to diagnose or promote them in your organization, what makes soft skills such a valuable, important, impactful platform to base your talent management lifecycle on. It's really a solid foundation to move through your talent management lifecycle. So in being able to more accurately and more consistently predict who's going to succeed, you're going to make sure that you get more top performers into the door for your organization. The great thing about this is that employees want to succeed at their jobs just as much as you want them to succeed. Everyone wants to feel good at their job, feel successful at their job, and feel like their job has been custom tailor-made for them. Those sorts of intangible benefits are becoming more and more critical, especially in the difficult job market we have right now as employers. It's great if you're an applicant. You're able to really have that luxury of picking out a job that not only provides you potentially the salary or the career opportunities that you'd like, but also those sort of little special things about the work environment, your colleagues, so on and so forth, that really make it feel homey to you, for lack of a better word. We're going to unpack today the impact this can have both pre-hire and post-hire. Again, pre-hire, we're talking about recruitment, and post-hire, we'll be talking about retention. Pre-hire, soft skills will be able to reinvigorate and drive faster recruitment. And post-hire, they'll be able to help increase the likelihood that employees are going to thrive and stay with your organization. Soft skills really help you not only to be more efficient, but also to be more effective. And that's going to be really important to understanding why they're such a powerful way to address this hiring and retention issue. So let's start off with pre-hire. We're going to go through 3 different advantages that soft skills have for you pre-hire in terms of driving recruitment. First, Soft skills help you widen the hiring funnel. They help you amplify funnel diversity, and they help you prevent attrition. So let's go into a bit more detail here. Increasing the overall number of eligible candidates. In a time especially where you don't have enough people to even look at, focusing on soft skills rather than hard skills will help make sure you maximize the flow through your funnel of those candidates. You're just going to have more people to choose from if you're using less strict disqualifiers based around hard skills and instead move to being more based around soft skills. By requiring only a basic screen in, screen out checkpoint for hard skills and focusing on soft skills instead, you're able to have a better chance of finding that perfect fit by potentially picking up on a non-traditional candidate that another organization might have missed out on. Next, if you're able to tap into the diversity that's already in your candidate pool, it allows you to really get a full range of the folks that are applying for your positions. When we talk about diversity at Cangrade, it's not just the sense of a demographic quota system or a checkbox where you have 7 of this group and 12 of that, and that's enough. It's diversity in the sense of thought, approach, experience, background, education, and so on. So sometimes the traditional candidate, quote unquote, isn't the best one for the role. This is why things like resume screening can be problematic, and we'll talk about this later on. When you're using hard skills or past experience as strict qualifiers and disqualifiers for your positions, you may be missing out on a wealth of different opportunities to really get superstar performers into the door. By letting soft skills drive your selection rather than personal opinions or resume screening, like I said, you are able to catch great hires that you might otherwise have missed if you were focusing on other aspects of performance. Lastly, pre-hire, you want to try to pick employees who will want to stay. When we talk about retention, quote unquote, we usually talk about it as an idea of triage after the fact. It's a reactive conversation. You already have hired this person. How do you make sure they don't leave? Or this person has expressed interest in leaving. How do you make sure that doesn't happen? I want to reorient that conversation and have you start thinking about retention from the moment you have that first interview with a potential candidate. It should be a proactive attempt to get an employee to stay, not a reactive process. I'd like to suggest here that you can begin tackling the problem of attrition before you even bring somebody into your organization. How do you do that? By focusing on soft skills, you're going to be increasing the likelihood of job fit. You're going to be able to understand the motivations of the candidate. What drives them to do their best work? What makes them the most comfortable in their work environment? What kinds of things they struggle with? What are those barriers, those counterproductive behaviors that they might have that might make them feel like they're not particularly good at their job or they're not particularly comfortable at their job? All of this information together, the richness of this information will help you to pick someone who's just more inclined to thrive in your environment. And it will help you as an organization to start preparing professional development to make sure that this candidate stays engaged in the role if they are hired and stays engaged in the organization as a whole. Again, as a social scientist, as a data scientist, I have a great and deep love for data-driven insights. There's all kinds of ways you can make decisions as an organization in general and in HR in particular. But to the extent that you can really systematize those decisions and base them on data and make sure that it's objective and consistent, you're going to not only see less bias in your hiring process, you're just going to see better results because you're going to be able to pick people consistently that you know are going to be a great fit for your organization. So let's talk about post-hire now. How can soft skills help you there? There's three main ways that soft skills impact retention after the hire is made, once you have that employee in the door. You'll be able to upskill more easily, you'll be able to optimize team performance, and you'll be able to target professional development. So let's dive into each of these now. First of all, hard skills are a lot easier to teach than soft skills. By making sure your candidates have the right soft skills, you'll be saving yourself a lot of time and money when it comes to upskilling. Again, by anchoring on these soft skills instead of on the hard skills, we're not saying that you won't have anything to teach when the employee gets there. There will still be a ramp up time, there will still be an onboarding process. But teaching someone how to use a new platform or any other hard skill the position might require, within reason, is just a much quicker process than trying to teach a soft skill. For example, teaching someone how to make a Trello board or use Salesforce might be a lot easier than teaching them how to have follow through or how to make sure they're detail oriented. It's not that you can't move the needle on soft skills. Soft skills are malleable and changeable throughout the lifespan. And working on these soft skills is one critical way that we'll talk about in just a minute that organizations can support their employees and make them feel connected to an organization. But it's just much quicker to move the needle on a hard skill than to move the needle on the soft skill. Consequently, by making sure they have that right basis of soft skills, this will make the management and upskilling process that much easier when it comes time to teach them the hard skills they need. Next, you want to find the perfect fit for current employees. If you have a larger organization, or even a smaller one that's growing, there is often the opportunity for internal mobility and lateral movements for existing employees. Anchoring on soft skills will allow for more of that freedom of movement in a way, again, that can be more systematic and more objective. You really want everyone who's with your organization to be in a position where they feel that they have high job fit, high satisfaction, and they're doing their best work. You want them to feel like your organization and their role is bringing out the best in them. By having this diagnostic basis of soft skills and this wealth of data and information, you'll have a bigger pool of talent to choose from for any open positions because you also have all of your current employees who are already dedicated to your organization. They may not have the traditional hard skills background you would normally look for, but you know they have a lot of other things, like, for example, years of loyalty to your organization, and that they're very motivated to stay in a position that they feel good about and they feel like they're doing good work in. This is another way, again, to widen that candidate pool by looking inside your own house first. When you survey employees of organizations, the ability to grow and change in their position and within their organization is one of the top motivators for why they don't change organizations. Everyone loves to be promoted, but even if there's no opportunity for upward mobility right now in your organization, lateral mobility is also allowing them to learn and grow and change and feel valued by your organization. Maximizing their work output will also make sure that it's driving ROI for your company as much as possible. Post-hire, soft skills will also help you to use your professional development time more wisely. There's only so many hours in a day and so much money you can spend on upskilling employees' soft skills. As I said earlier, hard skills are simply easier to teach. Soft skills are possible to teach, but it's a bit of an uphill climb sometimes. Consequently, you really want to focus and target that soft skill development. If you have diagnostic information that tells you what soft skills are critical and what soft skills any individual might be struggling with in particular, you'll know how to target those professional development hours in a way that best helps the employee do better at their job and your organization maximize the output from all of their employees as a whole. This will make sure that we remove those counterproductive behaviors we talked about in the beginning. If there's a weakness in a soft skill that's critical, that's going to work in a counterproductive way to your employee being able to output their best work. If what they really need is to build that attention to detail, there are ways to help them do that and help them focus on that. And as we said in the last slide, if they need attention to detail for a particular role and you're not moving the needle on that soft skill, there is also the possibility that you could find a lateral move for them that might not require that particular soft skill quite to the degree that their current role does. So both pre-hire and post-hire, it's really about making sure that your employees feel good about what they do. Sometimes that's thought about as a nice to have rather than a need to have. And I like to try to break apart that sort of dichotomy as much as possible. It's not one or the other. It's not your employees are happy or you're making the most money. Keeping your employees happy is what drives your ROI as an organization. Happy employees output more work for you. Those two ideas go hand in hand. They're not working in diametrical opposites. They're not working against each other. They're pushing in the same direction. And keeping your employees happy post-hire is a critical part of making sure that you're working smarter and not just harder as an organization. And like I said earlier, that drive towards retention starts pre-hire. When you hire folks into your organization who you think will be best set up to thrive and succeed and feel good about the work that they do. So we're going to talk a little bit about what this looks like in the lens of the pandemic in particular. I know that it's been an interesting year for a lot of us. It certainly has for us at Cangrade in terms of trying to figure out what the new normal looks like, what that means for work, what that means for our work environments, our employees, our client base, and so on. So to start off with, we're going to do another quick poll, make sure you're all still awake here, about how the pandemic has impacted your hiring and retention. Has the pandemic made it more difficult, not had an impact, or made it less difficult for you to hire and retain great folks? Give you a minute to respond. All right. I can pretend to be surprised, but it makes me feel better at least. It's made it more difficult for most of us. It's certainly shrunk the candidate pool quite a bit in our experience and in that of our clients. It's really a dramatic shift for most organizations in terms of being able to have the kind of choice they want. How can soft skills help? Soft skills, the magic solution to everything. Here we go. How soft skills can help you pre-hire in the lens of the pandemic is that they're able to boost job fit and to clarify motivations. Why is that particularly important? It's important because in this job market now, where applicants have a wealth of choice of positions, it's not so hard to find an organization that can fit their salary expectation and can fit the kind of work content-wise that they want to be doing. When we survey applicants in the American workforce, what we see is that they're looking for those little intangible things that make their job feel comfortable to them. feel attractive to them. And that's not whether there's cupcakes or whether they have free yoga classes. It's not any of those Silicon Valley perks that are so in fashion. It's making sure that they feel that their organization values them and brings out the best in them. One of the ways to make sure this is happening is to really clarify what is motivating any individual candidate. Understanding someone's motivation for coming to work every day is a critical part of keeping them motivated to do so. So if you know that someone is motivated financially, great. Make sure that their package continues to be financially viable. If you know that someone is motivated by helping others, make sure that they have the opportunity to do that. You know that someone's motivated by challenge, make sure that no day for them is boring. No day is like the day before. Everyone has a particular kind of motivational style that's really going to drive them forward and keep them engaged day after day. It's critical to be able to track the level of engagement and that motivation to work. Again, this is something that is typically thought about as a nice to have rather than a need to have. Sure, we want our employees to be engaged, but mostly it matters how many widgets they sell on any given day. I guarantee you, if you read the social psychology literature, that how many widgets they sell on any given day is going to be driven by how motivated they are to succeed at that particular task. Yes, there are hard skills involved. Yes, they need to know how to sell. Yes, there's plenty of things that vary as well and drive their success in that role. But the ultimate platform and foundation that they're all based on are those soft skills that make them good at their job, and are those motivations that keep them doing that job day after day after day. Not every day at work is going to be fun. Not every day at work is going to be your best day ever. And so what keeps you coming back and devoted to an organization is making sure that your motivational needs are being met. And again, that you feel good in your job. You feel like it fits you. Soft skills are the basis for all of that. How do soft skills help post-hire? Soft skills help post-hire because they give your current employees a reason to stay. They give them promotion opportunities, and they give them tailored coaching. When you ask folks why they're switching roles, it's often because they feel like they don't have the opportunity to grow, or they don't feel like their skills are being valued by their organization, or they don't feel that they're being managed in a way that is productive or positive for them. It's really critical to make sure that you're nurturing your employee base, especially in this time of incessant job hopping. Now that people have discovered they can leave jobs for greener pastures, the grass has started to look greener on the other side of the fence. How you can prevent that is before it becomes a conversation about leaving. You can give everybody the reason to stay up front. It is much more effective to prevent someone leaving a job than to try to triage after they've declared their intention. Most employees, once they've declared their intention to leave, there's not much you can do to make sure that they stay. What you can do is before they have that reason, before they take that other interview, before they look at that other company, make them feel nurtured and supported and like there is a trajectory within your organization for them. Now, that doesn't have to be a traditional promotion ladder climbing type of opportunity. That's always good. It's nice for them to know that it's there. It's nice for them to know that you're committed to growing their skill set and helping them move upwards in their level of responsibility. But it's also good for them to feel like they're getting their skills built in general. Soft skills coaching is something that's going to be valuable to them no matter where they go after they're with your organization. It's something that indicates to them that you value them as a critical part of the organization. Traditionally, this kind of tailored soft skills coaching was something that was much more reserved for the executive level of an organization. But it's just as critical for folks at every other level of your organization as well. And by providing this as a standard service for them, it makes people feel like you're treating them with the same level of value that you would have normally reserved for that executive C-suite level. Transmitting value to your employees is something that's a daily practice that needs to be integrated into your organization's culture and mission. In integrating this into your culture, into your management style, and into your company's core values, you're going to be able to change your culture from the inside. It's going to happen authentically, essentially, that people will feel valued and seen and promoted by their organization. That's what keeps people with organizations for longer, even in the race to raise their salaries and let them work from home however many days a week they want. Speaking of working from home, soft skills will also help you to understand how to do remote work better. As organizations shift from all in-person work to remote or hybrid, or struggle to figure out where they should go in between, soft skills are a critical platform for being able to do this well. A lot of our clients, especially those who really had an in-person focus prior to the pandemic, have really struggled with this. They've struggled with whether to allow employees to make their own decisions about remote work, or whether it should be an organizational decision. They've struggled with how many days will increase productivity and how many days will decrease productivity. There's no one right answer. Every organization needs to go through the process of working out this puzzle for themselves. I wish there was a magic answer about the right number of days to work from home, but it's going to not only differ by industry, but by role, by level, and by individual level of soft skills. So, what is the best jumping off point for trying to make these decisions? Data. Data will allow you to make these decisions about remote work in an objective and systematic way that won't make people feel like they're being discriminated against, or other people are getting special treatment, or they don't understand, there's inconsistent rules. Making data-driven decisions not only keeps your decisions unbiased, but also helps keep the perception of them for them to seem unbiased. Both aspects are really important. It's great to make unbiased decisions. It's also really important that they are seen by your employees as being unbiased. And to the extent that you can be transparent about how these decisions are being made, it really helps, again, to make sure that your employees feel valued and seen and promoted by your organization. So pre-hire, soft skills can help you understand who might do better in whatever kind of work environment you've decided to adopt on an organizational or role level. Whether it's remote or hybrid, some people are better suited for one than the other, just naturally in terms of their soft skills. Not everybody has the freedom or the wiggle room to choose that once they're already in an organization. But if you have candidates who you haven't taken in yet, you do have that luxury of saying, hey, we know we're going to be remote 5 days a week, and we don't know when we're coming back into the office, or we don't want to come back into the office. So we want to hire someone who has the soft skills to survive that sort of transition. One of the critical soft skills we see, for example, for being able to do remote work well is this idea of follow through. When you work from home, there is so much noise, literally and figuratively, around you. It's not like being in the office where you have a little bit of an office bubble. At home, there's kids, there's pets, there's the pile of laundry you didn't fold. And people need to be able to shut that out and focus and really follow through on tasks they're assigned. Some people really need that hybrid environment, or sometimes they need to be able to get out of the house and go to work. And if you know that's going to be your environment, then having that flexibility is fantastic for these folks. We actually find in our own research that most folks work best in a hybrid type environment. but it's all a spectrum. And soft skills will help you understand where these candidates sit on that spectrum. Post-hire, soft skills can help with understanding how to develop the skills that people need to succeed in whatever work environment you decide to enact in your company. Again, if you hired everyone pre-pandemic, you hired them for an in-person role, they were doing fantastically, they started working from home, and you can see their performance is slipping. What you don't want to have to do is fire someone because the new normal has created a work environment that doesn't work well for them. Instead, what the information with a diagnostic test of their soft skills will tell you is what soft skills they need developed. Where do they need support? What is it that their managers can work with them on, or what e-learning courses do you need to provide them, or even just what conversations do you need to have? If you notice, for example, that they're struggling with follow through, it might be as simple as having a conversation with them about it and saying, hey, what can we do to help you structure your home work environment so that you're able to follow through on tasks without distracting? Do you need a new workspace? Do you need some new headphones? Do we just need to bring it to your attention because you haven't really had the headspace to even think through what might be causing the dip in performance? Again, employees want to succeed at their jobs every bit as much as you want them to succeed at their jobs. So they're going to be gratified for the opportunity to skill build and make sure that they're feeling good. They don't want to be floundering any more than you want them to flounder. So we've talked a lot about how soft skills are important and you should diagnose them, and they are the foundation and the platform for everything that is important in the talent management lifecycle. Not to overstate the point, but kind of a big deal. So the critical question then to move on to now is, how do you pick the right soft skills solution? My goal as a thought leader in the HR tech space is not necessarily to get you to sign up with us tomorrow, although obviously we'd love to have you, but just to help make sure that you're educated consumers of the technology that's being sold to you in general. When you're coming to an AI tech solution space, and that's not necessarily your background, to some extent, all solutions can start to sound a little bit the same. The rhetoric starts to sound the same. So what I want to provide you in this last module of our webinar today is a little bit of a cheat sheet about what things to look for and what are some red flags to avoid, so that you can make sure that whatever tech solutions your company is adopting really hit the nail on the head and don't cause more harm than do good. Whenever you're systematizing something, you always have to be careful to pick a good solution in general with tech, especially if it's AI driven, because if you're using bad data or you're using a solution that isn't good science, you can really do a tremendous amount of harm, as it'll be a systematized solution rather than just a one-off solution that one of your recruiters uses and another doesn't. The first principle is this idea that small data is better than big data. Big data is just not as good as small data. What do I mean by this? Big data is a buzzword that you hear a lot in the AI space these days. I'm sure that most of you have heard this expression. Big data really just means that someone maintains a giant data set with lots of different things from all kinds of different aspects. If we're talking about HR, you would have tons of different companies with different roles at different levels, and everything would be sort of smushed together in one data set that usually has thousands upon thousands, if not millions, of data points. It's something that we use to develop our own solution, so there's definitely a role for big data. But when it comes to understanding soft skills and the basis of success for your specific role at your specific organization, big data just doesn't perform at the same level that small data does. So what does that mean? There's no one size fits all profile for anything. There's no one size fits all profile for a customer service representative. If you get a big data solution that lumps all customer service representatives together in one sort of mold, you're going to lose the ability to predict outcomes as accurately. It is such a problem because it removes all of the nuance. And that ultimately does you a disservice because it's that nuance that makes sure that the outcome that you care about is really being focused on. So small data is just your organization's own metrics, your own KPIs, your own key performance indicators, understanding what success means to you in particular for your particular role. It's not what customer service reps do well in general. It's what your customer service rep at your particular organization, sometimes even one particular office, does particularly well. So fundamentally, not all soft skills assessments are created equal. Just because measuring soft skills is a good idea doesn't mean, like I said, that all solutions do an equally good job. There are so many different options for personality assessments that can be used to build out an understanding of soft skills. And like every industry, some of these are scientifically valid and some of them are junk science. Why does it matter so much? What happens if you choose a poor solution? If you choose a poor solution for soft skills assessment, it has a variety of negative impacts. First, it can increase candidate drop-off pre-hire. Candidates are going to be turned off by a solution that is too long, too difficult, or too boring. The user experience is critical in making sure that your pre-hire funnel is not negatively impacted. Next, introducing bias into the talent management process. So candidates can smell bias, and this is going to drive dropout for sure. But more than that, it's about ensuring that the diversity in your funnel stays represented in the pool of candidates that you select to interview. Third, slowing down the talent management process. Solutions where the output is confusing or complex or requires consultative services to interpret it will slow down the agile way that HR teams need to move. You need to make quick decisions in the pandemic more than ever, and you don't have the luxury of time in trying to understand what's going on inside your soft skills solution. Next, increasing attrition post-hire. So if you choose a solution that's inaccurate, that means that you're not actually harnessing the predictive potential of those soft skills that we're supposed to be focusing on, and people are going to leave due to poor job fit post-hire. The same thing for number 5 occurs with performance. If the solution isn't accurate, you're not moving the needle on the success metrics, the KPIs that you care about in the way that you'd hoped. And this is going to be an expensive waste of your time and your money. Soft skills are not only ahead of the game when it comes to pure predictive power, but they're also better able to be tailored to your specific workplace realities. As we said in previous slide, not all roles are the same. One sales role is going to be very different from one organization to another, even if the hard skills that underlie selling are the same. With some of our clients, we even find that within one organization, if you have 2 different sales teams, maybe one that's targeted on large enterprises and one that's targeted on medium enterprise organizations, that you're going to have 2 different bases of soft skills, even between those 2 different kinds of sales teams. The soft skills are the platform to let the unique characteristics of that role and the unique characteristics of the people who succeed in it really shine. Okay, so we've talked about what happens if things go wrong, but what makes a soft skills solution great? There are 3 main pillars that really will make sure that you're selecting a great soft skills solution: accuracy, efficiency, and equity. These are going to be the last things we unpack today in this webinar. Accuracy. So a good solution will have enough detail to be able to estimate your soft skills correctly. This is about making sure that you can tailor the soft skills to fit your specific job effectively. The poor solution, on the other hand, may measure too few components, may score with a more generic approach, or may categorize into generic groups. By the way, if you want more detail about any of this, I skipped the call out on our previous slide, but you'll have a link to this in the slides we've shared with you today. We've written a more detailed blog post about it. So I'm going through it in a little bit of broad brush strokes here, but you can always click and learn more on our more detailed blog post. The next theme we see here in good soft skills solutions is efficiency. This component is about making sure that your soft skills solution does not slow down your hiring process or confuse your recruitment managers. You need to have a simple output that illustrates which soft skills you need for success in this role. You need clear and simple go-to instructions for your recruiters to act on during interviews. A poor solution, on the other hand, may ask too many questions, display more than one score, or conduct the assessment too late in the process. It's really critical that this soft skills assessment not be seen as a rubber stamp, but as a platform for the entire talent management process. Often with previous solutions, when we have clients that are switching over, they've been charged on a per candidate basis. So they get pushed down the line to save a little bit of money towards asking them as the last step in the process, where it's just that rubber stamp that says, yes, this candidate's going to be okay. We try to encourage the assessment as the first touch point in the funnel whenever possible. What this does, first of all, is give the candidates a really objective, easy introduction into your talent management lifecycle. That's a quick and potentially even fun for most of the candidates way to understand a little bit more about their own workplace preferences, their own precursors of job fit, and it'll give you as much data insight as possible to make a quick data-driven decision on a systemic, objective way. This keeps you super efficient. DE&I is not just a nice to have, it's a need to have. You've heard me say things like this a lot when you're talking about employee happiness, when you're talking about job fit, when you're talking about supporting your employees and making them feel valued. There's a lot of different aspects that have been portrayed in the past as these warm and fuzzy things that are nice for a rainy day or if you have some extra cash, but when it gets down to it, they don't really drive ROI. If I can leave you with one nugget of truth from this webinar, it's the idea that that's not true. DE&I is, yes, a moral imperative and a great thing to do for your organization. Employee happiness and increasing job satisfaction and increasing the degree to which employees feel valued, yes, they're great parts of your culture and values of an organization that are good things to do. But that doesn't mean that they are counterproductive to your bottom line. In fact, it's quite the opposite. These warm and fuzzy things like DE&I, like employee happiness, actually help you move the needle from a monetary angle as well. Keeping employees happy and including a diversity of opinion and background and experience, moving to thinking about diversity not just as a set of quotas or fulfilling a checkbox for your organization, but actually as a way to drive success on an organizational level is a critical shift to make in the culture of your organization. You want to make sure that your soft skills profile here doesn't bake bias in to your hiring or promotion or lateral movement process, and that the user experience in general is not conducive to creating biased responses or biased completion rates amongst different kinds of groups. So a good solution is going to make sure, first and foremost, that soft skill levels are equivalent across demographic groups. This is a really important question to ask of a potential soft skills assessment provider. A lot of soft skills solutions haven't actually done this research. And although they will claim to be bias-free or help you protect against different inequities in your organization, When pressed or when you dig a bit, they may not have actually done the work academically to verify that's true. So really make sure, again, no matter what solution you end up going with, if you choose to employ a soft skills solution in your organization, make sure you check this. That's not only from a warm and fuzzy sort of perspective, but also from making sure you don't get sued perspective. That can really open yourself up to a minefield in terms of legal defensibility. You don't want to have the situation where you think you're protected against bias, but actually your provider hasn't done that work, because it can get you sued by any candidate or employee that feels that they were discriminated against. So definitely make sure that your solutions provider has done their homework so that the burden of proof doesn't end up on you. So a poor solution may have biased questions, may start off with asking demographic questions, which can alter actually the responses to some of the soft skills questions, or may create a device-specific experience that isn't mobile optimized, for example, that might discriminate against certain demographic groups that don't have access to a PC or a laptop to complete it. So just really quickly to wrap up a summary of everything we learned today. There's a lot of advantages pre-hire to using soft skills to drive recruitment. Those advantages continue post-hire in order to help you drive retention. It's particularly important in the pandemic to lean on and rely on these soft skills, both pre-hire to make sure that folks succeed, and post-hire to give folks a reason to stay. And lastly, to optimize remote work opportunities overall. It's a really tricky balance, like I said, to find that right magical tipping point between too much remote work, not enough remote work, and you don't always have the wiggle room to find it depending on how things are going in terms of health. You need to make sure that you have the ability to support your employees through this particular struggle. Our little plug for our own solution, how Cangrade can help. We're a streamlined soft skills assessment that has an easy application and screening experience. It's very simple. It's a color-coded solution, green, yellow, or red for your candidates, that tells you for any number of roles simultaneously and instantaneously whether or not they'd be a good fit for your position. It also provides a retention prediction in order to be able to reduce attrition. So we're able to help you predict pre-hire whether someone's going to stay post-hire, and able to help you optimize that people are staying once they've been hired. So obviously, as a thought leader, I have a vested interest in getting the science right here. At my time at Cangrade, it's been a tremendous privilege to get to be part of a science-led company that doesn't sacrifice the integrity or the accuracy of its solution. I was able to help Cangrade engineer its AI in a way that ensures that all of these aims that we talked about today, in terms of accuracy, efficiency, and equity, are represented in a soft skills solution. We're not the only solution out there in the market, and some of you may be using soft skills solutions already. So really my overall goal today for you is to make sure that you feel like you're equipped with the right questions and the right tools to go out and get the solution that fits best for your organization. And hopefully to convince you that soft skills are a really critical shift your organization can make to bolster both your pre-hire and post-hire processes. Employee happiness, valuing employees, and making sure that that diversity of perspectives is representative will make sure that you get great folks in the door and that you keep them for years to come. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to moderate any questions that you guys might have had in the chat.
Yeah, so we've got our first one here from Philip. So how can soft skills be best introduced to an organization that's never used them before and only relied on objective, hard data decision making?
That's a great question. So I think the best pitch for that is to pitch that soft skills are objective, hard data decision making. So no, they're not hard skills. It's not words per minute. It's not years of experience selling X, Y, or Z product. But if you have an assessment solution that measures them in an objective way, the data is every bit as objective as if it were about hard skills. Just because they're about soft skills, quote unquote, doesn't mean that you're not using objective data and good science, and that you're not going to be able to leverage them in the same sort of way. So I think it's about shifting that mindset to just because it's a soft skill doesn't mean it's bad data. Does that make sense? And that's why it's so critical to make sure that the assessment is doing a good job of measuring that so that you don't have that pushback. It's a great question.
Great, and we've got our next one from Jekaterina. Are soft skills needed at all in our new reality?
Hopefully I've convinced you about that today. I think soft skills are needed more than ever in our new reality. Our new reality is so much more stressful than our old reality was in a lot of ways. And one of the critical things that work provides is some degree of social support. As we move to a more remote workplace, that social support that we used to get informally by going to work really is dwindling and needs to be replaced in a more systemic way. And soft skills are one of the ways that you can do that, because you can see where people may be struggling and you can target that specifically in a more sort of formal, objective, specific way than you would have done previously. I think the nice thing about any sort of big shakeup like this pandemic has been is that it really opens the door for organizations to get creative. And that the really critical thing here is that you have enough good information to make smart decisions about how to support your employees and how to get creative. And hopefully I've convinced you today that soft skills are a great foundation, a great data foundation for how to do that. They're going to give you the information that you need in order to be able to support all of your employees better and to make better decisions about who to hire in the first place.
Great. And from Keisha, do these insights apply to existing employees as well?
Absolutely. So I think that when we think about pre-hire assessments in the HR tech space, sometimes you think about them as a one touch and you're done solution. You take an assessment, you get hired, you don't get hired. It's sort of a referendum on who you are as a worker. You're either a good worker or a bad worker, and then it's finished. At Cangrade, we really try to reorient that conversation again towards how you score on a pre-hire assessment is really about whether this work environment is going to bring out the best in your work performance or whether it's going to create problems for your work performance. Will you thrive in this work environment? Once you get hired and you're a current employee, there are always ways to optimize your work performance in that environment. And the data that you had pre-hire coming in can be used post-hire, like I said, for professional development opportunities and to make sure the organization is continuously skill building with you and you're continuously growing as a professional at your organization. It becomes a way to move an employee through the funnel within your organization, not just laterally between teams, but also, for example, if you're considering a variety of people for promotion, you're able to take that same data and recompute it for a different role without even having to notify them that you're doing that. And that way you already know whether people would be better suited for a management position or not. And you can use that to kickstart the conversation and take a peek into the future. It really helps to reorient that conversation towards a skills development and making sure that this is just the jumping off point with this score for an illustrious career within your organization, and that it's not seen as sort of a penalization for a job poorly done. It's just a platform to help bring out your absolute best in the workplace.
Okay, and we only have 1 minute left, so I'll do this one last question. What if you're hiring for a very technical role? How heavily should soft skills factor in then?
That's such a great question. So that's going to vary greatly depending on how technical the role is, right? There's always going to be some qualifiers or disqualifiers, for example, for a software developer. I think my message for those roles would be, don't throw out the fact that they need to know how to code. But for example, for a software developer, you might be a little more flexible on what coding language they know. Once a software developer learns one coding language, it's actually pretty easy to upskill and learn a new one. What's not easy is if they're an independent worker or not, if you need them to have high attention to detail or not. So again, having these soft skills as a platform will help them be better able to learn and upskill the hard skills they need on the job. And no matter how technically skilled a role is, you're always going to need to skill build on the hard skills once you get in the door. And it's going to be those soft skills that are a platform for whether you're able to do that at your particular organization in that particular role.
Great, thanks, Leanna. I think we'll kick it over to Kathy to close things out.
Thank you. This concludes our webcast today. I would like to thank our presenter as well as all of you for joining us. If you joined late and would like to view the webcast again, the recording and slides will be available on hr.com in our archived webcasts. Your HRCI credit will appear in your account within 2 business days, and we also send out an email with the credit information. Please take a few moments and fill out the webcast survey that will open on your screen. Your feedback is very important to us. This concludes our webcast. Enjoy the rest of your day.